Project Marvel's first step has happened. So what's next? What's all the confusion about? Let's talk to District 1's Councilwoman Sue Kour.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas City, San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. And TGIF, everybody. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available where we get podcasts. You know where to go. iTunes, Spotify, Kansas 5 Plus app, YouTube, subscribe, ASAP. We definitely appreciate it all. And yeah, we'll get you through it here in this long off season right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On NBA. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to bring in a very special guest, District 1 Councilwoman Sukh Kaur. Now, she was one of the 7 voters on the panel in the city meeting, city council meeting there last couple Thursday back when they were voting for the term sheet. So she voted yes for it, for the term sheet to be accepted, and then for Project Marvel to take its first baby step towards hopefully becoming a reality. Well, she's going to join us in just a few minutes. She's going to be talking about, well, first of all, her Spurs fandom. And we have some fun with that Tony Robinson email as she explains it was just kind of a stream of consciousness thing. It's nothing, no big deal. But she definitely was a good sport about it. But then she gets into the weeds and she gets into the meat of the discussion, discussing exactly the financial areas of the entire project that may be confusing some Spurs fans or just residents in general, just San Antonio residents. So she clarifies that. She answers some residents' questions. Yeah, she takes 2 questions from residents that we have for her, and she addresses their concerns as well. And speaking of concerns, she even, was pretty good about saying, so she heard a lot of the residents that showed up to City Hall last Thursday to voice their opinion and why they are against it and how that actually helps in the process. So again, a great interview with Dr. Sue Kour coming up in just a few seconds. Of course, she goes into a lot more stuff, including her dancing around the Kawhi Leonard remark, although she never said Kawhi Leonard. She's kind of danced around it, but she'll talk about that and so much more, including how if you're our pro Project Marvel, how you can get involved. So that's a great little tip that she'll give you in just a few seconds. Just a quick heads up. Okay, so she did have some audio video issues during the recording. Just a heads up on that. Again, we tried our best to try to clear it up. There'll be some moments where it's kind of fuzzy or maybe the audio is a little off, but you can definitely hear her, or at least her message will get out. So please excuse any audio video issues that you're going to see in just a few minutes. All right. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Dr. Sue Kour, District 1's Councilwoman. And now we are joined by Councilwoman Sue Kour, District 1's very own. By the way, and I live in District 1 too, so I had to reach out to her. Doctor, welcome to Locked On Spurs. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here and connect with the fans.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Let's break the ice here, okay? I think you're the first council member in San Antonio history to mention Kawhi Leonard during a meeting. I'm pretty sure about that. Were you surprised at how viral that thing took off?
Yes. First of all, I never mentioned him by name. There could be another set player who didn't really vibe on our team, who ended up going to Toronto, winning a ship. Yeah. That's all I said. But yeah. I always say this, we love our Spurs because we are a team that works with each other and not against each other.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was kind of like the reason why you brought it up during the meeting. That whole, alluding to that player. It was definitely a viral moment. Everybody loved it. And trust me, if not speaking for the councilwoman here, but Spurs fans, y'all know what we're talking about, right? When it comes to Kawhi, that will just light a fire quickly. But you've been a huge Spurs fan, right?
I made the Spurs Uncensored page. I got a lot of pump fists for the comments, so I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, even the CEO of the San Antonio Zoo loved it too. So just to dance up as well. So how long have you been a huge Spurs fan?
Honestly, for a long time, I did go to high school in Maryland, so I used to watch the Washington team play. You know, the Wizards, and there was a time when Michael Jordan played for them for a hot second. So I was a huge Jordan fan. I'm a huge Jordan fan. Yep, but I love the Spurs. Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm old enough to have lived through the 5 titles, got to see them all happen, and that was a treat, just to see how alive the city was during that time. Fans were like united. It was such a good time, and hopefully, crossing fingers, they're back on that path to the NBA top of the mountain. By the way, I just want to clear something up here, because I want to know, how legendary is the legendary Tony Robinson? Can you talk to us about Tony Robinson?
Oh, goodness. Yes, I can. So I was trying to make an analogy the other day of the winningest trio, and the note taking got confused with the language that I used. But obviously, we know the winningest trio in NBA history is Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. However, what would a Super Spur look like? I just think like a Super Spur between Tony Parker and David Robinson. I think that'd be pretty cool.
and you know what? You were probably, when you were typing out that email, you were probably thinking of just the legendary players and thought Robinson and Parker, and it just made sense. But hey, talking about that, can you imagine a player fused together with those skill sets on the court? I can tell you this much, Doctor.
Yeah,
they better be wearing silver.
I thought about doing an interview with the both of them and saying like, what assets of each of you would you take?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Parker might say, "I'll take Robinson's height." Like that. And David, I think David would have been like, "I'm fine, because I'm just as fast as Tony in my day, and I could score just as much as Tony in my day." So I think David's be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. It's cool. It's good. It's good to hear that you've been a good Spurs fan and you're a good sport about everything right now. Hey, so let's go back, rewind the clock here. Go back to that Thursday where it felt like all of San Antonio Spurs fans across the globe were tuned in, watching that Thursday, and of course leading up to the resolutions. How was that day for you all? What was the vibe like in Chambers, among your colleagues there? How were you feeling leading up to that big day?
So it was an exciting day, and also one that caused us to think about exactly what we're doing and make sure that we're making a smart and strategic decision, right? So I am a big Spurs fan, but that doesn't mean that we blindly sign deals that are not good for the city and not good for our residents. So, and we heard a lot of concern from some residents that didn't fully quite understand what the city would be responsible for. What is it that we are getting in return? And so I think it was an exciting tip, but also one that caused us to make sure that we are really thinking about this diligently.
Yeah, exactly. And what about yourself? You obviously, you got to weigh both sides. I mean, that's what your job is, to look at both sides. What's best for San Antonio? Do you ever find yourself kind of thinking like, man, both sides kind of make a point, but we got to push forward?
Oh, absolutely. That whole week I was debating, do we really need an independent economic analysis? And I even said this in my remarks. I was trying to figure out what would an independent economic analysis show us that would change the financials of this deal. And I think that's what the biggest thing that I've learned in all of my research is this is a financially solid deal. A lot of other cities that have helped arenas for any kind of sports team don't have a guarantee for development. Right. They don't have a guarantee on payment. And in the Philadelphia case that was brought up, there's not a state tax it's a state hotel tax that we are using for our portion of this deal. There is no local property tax dollars. The general fund isn't even being used as to back the debt. So forget it being used to pay for it. It's not even being used to back it. So at no point would we dip into the general fund to pay for this portion of the arena. And so I think knowing that and knowing how different this is from other cities is really important, because we see kind of the horrors in some other cities where the city leadership hasn't strategically put the deal together to ensure those guarantees.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, even when that initial term sheet went out prior to the Thursday vote. And it's pretty much set there in black and white, no tapping into the general fund. It was pretty obvious, and I think, there was a lot of residents that were just kind of like, wait, where's this money coming from? It's like, well, it's there, you just gotta read it there in that initial term sheet. How was it for you when the revised term sheet, I should say, when you saw the Spurs kind of up their ante, going from 1.5 to a little over 2? I mean, that must have even made yourself, who voted yes for it, kind of like, well, yeah, let's strike while the iron's hot. Hey, but let's talk about game time. Look, college football is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than the energy of tailgates, being in the stands with your fellow fans. And the only downside, well, maybe trying to get tickets, endless queues, hidden fees, price that jump at checkout. That's why you got to use Game Time. It's the app that gives you the advantage. It gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets and the best prices, no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Hey, you know what? The app is going to make it so super simple for you for getting tickets. You can actually see the exact view from your seat before buying. And what about the zone deals? Yeah, you're going to love the zone deals. Basically, you pick the section, Game Time will pick the seats, and you save big, and it's faster, cheaper, just less stressful. And than other ways you have ever bought tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like. Answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can find the link in the show notes, and thank you for helping us out.
Yeah, so when I wrote my op-ed back at the end of July, we thought we were only getting $500 million of development guaranteed. I had no idea it was actually $1.4 billion of mixed-use development that is guaranteed. That's almost $300 million that is in direct sales and hot tax. That's going to come straight to our city's budget. We can use that sales tax right now for transportation, for our pre-K for SA program. The hot tax get used for the arts and funding our amazing arts organizations. And so those are direct dollars as a result of their guarantee. So I was actually really shocked by that. But then the other thing I was impressed by was they increased their community benefits agreement. It was something we asked for, and they bumped it from 60 to 75. So they came with a good deal, and they ended with an even a more amazing deal. And at the end of the day, this question about this independent analysis that has been brought up, the Spurs analysis says the Arena Stadium is going to bring over 5,000 construction jobs. It was like 5,400. If an independent analysis says actually it's only 4,000 jobs, does that make those 4,000 jobs insignificant? It doesn't. It's still important for so many workers that are going to get an opportunity because of all of this development that's occurring. And the service industry is just going to be able to explode in this area. So there's a lot of opportunity for jobs, for revenue that I think make this deal solid.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here with Councilwoman Dr. Sue Kour. She is representing District 1, my favorite one because I live in District 1. So just no bias there, Doc. No bias there. But yeah, we're talking about Project Marble, the vote, all that good stuff. And in a bit, we're going to get to a couple of resident questions that they have for Doctor right here on Locked On Spurs. Obviously, the term sheet passed. We're good to go. But I think residents have to understand one thing. That's just like the first baby step, right? This is just the beginning, correct?
So the next step is actually the most democratic way for our residents to be able to vote on this partnership. And that's by going in November to the ballot box and choosing whether or not they think this deal should move forward. What voters are actually going to be voting on is the county venue tax. It's a tourist tax that gets placed on rental cars, etc. Not their own dollars, but it helps us fund the county portion, which in total will help us fund this partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we definitely have some questions from fans, residents about that. I think that seems to be the common thread. Is just the financial side of things. Obviously the mayor, she's not hiding it. She was very vocal about, getting that independent study. She showed up at meetings. She showed up at gatherings in front of City Hall. Again, just driving that home. Although the vote did pass 7-4 for the term sheet to go forward, but were you ever surprised about her stance? Did that catch you ever off guard?
No, she made her voice, I think, and her opinion on this very clear. So I think it didn't catch anybody off guard.
All right, perfect. So during that Thursday meeting, obviously it was time for residents to speak their mind, and watching it online and people that were there, it leaned more towards vocal people saying no, this is it. There definitely were pro, that's for sure. But if you had a message for those residents that showed up, took time out of their schedule, what would you say to them? Do you think the council, as talks move forward, take into consideration their feelings, their concerns, their worries?
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you to all of those folks that came out. It's hard to spend an entire day taking off work. That's, job hours lost to be able to come and really voice your opinion. I also know there are a lot of residents that aren't able to do that, which is why I think the survey data was so important. And in the survey data that was conducted over the summer for District 1 residents, over 56% of them said they support public funding for it. And additional 25 basically said we don't have enough information to make a decision yet. And so there was overwhelming support in the survey from our residents. But I think what I would want those folks that aren't quite sure about this is to understand exactly what it is that they are most worried about. Sometimes I hear from folks that, hey, we need to worry about our streets and sidewalks. Why are you focusing on economic development downtown? And the response to that is whether or not we do this partnership and this sports and entertainment district does not change the fact of us doing streets and sidewalks in neighborhoods. This money can't be used for streets and sidewalks in neighborhoods, but that does not mean that me as the Orange County council person, as Mayor Ron previously coined me, will not keep fighting for that. And that has to be in our bond. It has to be important. And so I think both of those things can happen at the same time, but this does not mean that the other will not occur.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they make valid points. They just like you, just like me, just like all your colleagues, they want the best for San Antonio. And at that point, they felt like that was the best for San Antonio. Exactly. But, we obviously all got to come together and move forward. How about you personally? Once that vote was done, both resolutions voted on, was that a sense of relief for you knowing that, okay, we can get this going now?
Yeah, a bit so, just because those meetings had been quite long. And so we want to be able to move on. Right now, we're in budget discussions, and budget is so critical in terms of how we're spending dollars. I'm the excitingly new chair of the Public Safety Committee. And one of the things I would love to help see more of is street lighting. Street lighting is such an important component of public safety. And so how do we think more about innovative ways to create a safe community for all of our residents?
Yeah, absolutely. Circling back to just Project Marvel as a whole, and moving forward, term sheet, what would you consider the biggest confusion point among residents right now? And whatever that biggest confusion point in your opinion is, do you think you can clear it up in a clearer way?
I think the biggest confusion point is the city on the hook for $489 million? Is that going to come off the backs of taxpayer residents? And at the end of the day, what I'd like for folks to know is that it's not. When we take out debt for this, which wouldn't happen until 2028, it will be a revenue bond. And that revenue bond is not being backed by any general fund dollars. So no general fund dollars will be used to even back this debt as a backstop. The only thing that's going to be used are the leases from the Spurs, from all that mixed use development that they are guaranteeing payment on. So what that means is if the development doesn't occur, it's the Spurs and the Spurs owners that are going to pay us for all of those leases. And then also the PFC, the project finance zone dollars that can only be used around the sports and entertainment district. and it's state hotel tax dollars. So those are the components that are going into this deal, not our general fund dollars, not our property tax dollars, and they're not even being used as a backstop. And the other big thing that I want to share is that, like, you know, in a pandemic or if there's a recession or something and they say, oh, well, we can't do this because there's delays, etc., doesn't matter. They still have to make those payments. So they're taking on a huge risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you look at that revised term sheet that was submitted, it already said in black and white again, no tapping into the general fund. You know, it pretty was clear there. And hopefully, you know, most residents kind of either skimmed through it or at least read some of it to realize that, yeah, there it is in black and white. And there's also, for me personally, I think what I guess grinds me is a little bit is like, for those that are confused, I'm like, well, it's non-binding. You know, I keep on saying it's non-binding. If there's a misstep, if there's anything that kind of throws things off, you know, okay, you know, we can reset, we can restart.
If the residents say no in November, no deal.
Yeah, exactly. Simple as that. Yeah. And I think that should help some residents feel a sense of just at ease, at least for those that are maybe are against it, you know, just kind of like, okay, that's fine. You know, we can definitely work with that. And for me, I just felt that was a common ground. That was a happy middle for everybody. You know, I've been thinking about this too, and I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think sometimes residents are kind of blurring the lines between a private organization, Spurs, and then the city and the county and coming together? Because I think that's where I see some of the issues there. They're blurring things. And what I mean by that, I'll give an example. Spurs fans, well, let me rephrase. Some residents see entertainment district, right? A district that just includes an arena. All right. So then they hear, well, the Spurs are only committing what to the district? And we're like, whoa, what's that about? It's for the arena. And I think that's where some residents are kind of blurring things right now. What are your thoughts? I want to talk about FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love FanDuel because, you know, it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building the same game parlay, jumping into live action as the action unfolds. You can make every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com. That'll get you started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Yeah, so, you know, the joke that we mentioned earlier, this is a partnership for the arena specifically. The land is still on city land. So the sports and entertainment district is going to be all owned by the city. But then we have a partnership for this arena specifically. We'll have similar partnerships for other components. For example, there may be another music venue there, and that would be another partnership that we could create. And again, the benefit of a public-private partnership is that we're joining together for a mutual goal, a common goal for our community and our city. And so we have to make sure that both the private entity sees the benefit that's in for them and the public also. The public is not stuck with paying the bill, and the private entity sees that, okay, this is a great deal to work in. And I think that's what folks need to remember, that it's a partnership, and it doesn't mean that, you know, we've kind of shake it, that the question has come up about like, well, why aren't they giving us a revenue sharing component? Frankly, it's because we wouldn't do the opposite. We wouldn't give them portions of our general fund, which is our revenue. So we have to make sure that we have similar goals and are aligned in a way that will make sure that we're not preventing businesses in the future from wanting to do business with us.
Yeah, you know, we're going to look forward now to the next step, which is, at least for the residents' part, is the November election/vote there. How important is that vote for not, and just for the city of San Antonio, the resident? Just how crucial is that day?
So if that vote does not pass, there most likely is not going to be an arena downtown. We can't do the county's portion. And so we need this. The vote is contingent on the whole arena being downtown. So if you want the Spurs to come back downtown, if you want to be able to enjoy the park on a big jumbotron, watch the game, not just playoffs and away games or even at home games, have families come out there and picnic and enjoy our hometown team, then folks got to go out and vote for it.
There you go. Simple as that. All right. Well, we got a couple of resident questions for you. So it is that point now, I guess, in the process where resident education begins about this. So we have one submitted question here, and the individual wants to remain anonymous, but this person wants to know, Mayor Ortiz is acting like this just came up. They want to know, how long has the city been working on this? So that's the first question, Doctor.
So we had our first public meeting at City Hall back in November. And, on the campaign trail, I said we should have started community engagement back then. Hindsight's 2020, but that was when we first had a public meeting about this. I know city leadership has been working with county and Spurs leadership to figure out how we could put this deal together prior to that, but that was when we were first publicly briefed.
Okay. Next question is from Mr. Rudy Campos. He's asking you, if the Spurs are allowed to play home games in Austin or another location, is it fair to ask them to provide lost revenue, wages, etc., for employees in the city who would be missing out on the income those games would bring?
I think this goes back to the revenue sharing agreement, where if the more we try to control our businesses' operations, the less likely they are going to want to be a good partner with the city and our government agencies there. So, do I wish they played all their games here? Of course, but am I a collaborator and want Austin to get a little bit of our love too? I don't mind it. And with this deal, the term sheet, they can't leave us until 2062. So.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. I've been a resident of San Antonio all my life, and I remember games at the Hemisphere Arena. I remember going to games at the Alamo Dome and just seeing just floods of people downtown, crossing that current bridge they have right now that connects the park to the dome. And then I remember friends of mine, family, used to be an old Landry Seafood on the corner of Commerce, and it's not there, it relocated, but going there used to be bars there, so I got a small taste of what it was like when the Spurs were playing downtown. And I can tell you, it's a whole different experience, and hopefully everything goes well in November. We'll see how residents.
The other thing, Jeff, about that question is every time they go to Austin or when they played in Paris or when they go to Mexico City, they are playing as the San Antonio Spurs. So that's more name recognition, community benefit that our city is receiving, and more folks that might want to come visit us.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure once they get a taste of NBA action, either in Austin or in Paris or in Mexico City or wherever they're going to play, they're going to be, all right, this is great. Let's book a trip to San Antonio to keep on doing that. Hey, I know you're a busy woman, and we'll let you go here shortly here, but just a couple more things. I've been getting this question from a lot of residents. They're saying, okay, what can we do to help? What can we do? I had one resident tell me, I was in Southtown the other day and I see signs popping up everywhere on lawns says no to Project Marvel, but I want this to happen. How can they get involved? Is there going to be an education process soon where maybe they can show up to libraries or schools to understand what's going on? Can you talk to us about that?
So if you are watching and you're a fan and you want to make sure that we have this arena downtown, then please go out, tell your friends to vote, tell them about what the deal actually is, what it isn't, and share the word, share it on social, and make sure that most importantly, you get out to vote.
Absolutely. Hey, I was going to ask you, are you going to show up to the arena next season when they have the Tony Robinson jersey retirement ceremony? Because I would love to go.
I'm going to have a personalized one. It's going to say District 1 Tony Robinson.
You know what, Doctor? You could be onto something here. That inadvertent mistake there. But all jokes aside, I want to ask you have any final word to residents, either they're for or against Project Marvel, heading into the November election?
I would say if you have a question about why we're voting for this or why we support this, ask. seek first to understand and make sure that you understand the facts of this partnership. Know how the city has limited our risk, know how the county has limited our risk, and know how much that the Spurs are willing to put on the line for our city and our community. Over $2 billion, a deal I have not seen, an offer I have not seen across the country. And that shows how much our Spurs love us. Whether it's the players that go out and support our local ISDs through their fundraisers, whether it's them doubling down after they've retired in our community, the Spurs are San Antonio. San Antonio is the Spurs. We are one and the same, and we have to go out and show that we can work together as a city, as a county, and as a team to create the best deal, I think, that has happened for an NBA sports arena.
Absolutely. She is Councilwoman Sue Kour, District 1's very own. And Doctor, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. I know you have a lot of things to do, a lot of tasks to do. I'm glad you're able to squeeze in some time. You got to talk to the fans, the residents, let them understand what is happening, because I think that's exactly what needs to happen. It's just an understanding now leading into November. Any social media sites you want to put out there so fans have questions for you?
Yeah. Tag me at Dr. Sukh D1, send me a direct message and ask me any questions that you have. I try to do my best to respond.
Yeah. And I have a final request. The previous mayor, Nuremberg, I guess at that time, no, I guess it was X. Yeah, I think it turned to X. Had X. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. X dubbed me San Antonio's nerd ambassador. So I don't know if you know this about me.
No.
Whenever there's like a major Comic-Con in San Antonio, like massive ones, I'm usually the MC and host because I'm a big nerd and everybody in San Antonio knows about that. So I was wondering, maybe you could just float that out there. Maybe just kind of like, can we carry that distinction into this new mayorship, and of course under your watch over there, the Councilwoman, because I loved it. When Nuremberg was all like, I dub you San Antonio's nerd, I was like, that's perfect. I love it. It's official, everybody. You saw her. It's official. It's in. All right. Dr. Sue Kour, we appreciate you and all you do for San Antonio and helping fans, residents understand what is happening with Project Marble as you move forward. Everybody else, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Cansify Plus app. We'll be back next week as the Silver and Blacks offseason continues. We're almost there. We're almost out of the weeds of a bad, long offseason. We'll get there. We'll help you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. So for Dr. Sue Kour, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.